I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here we are. My name's Dave, and I'll just start from the beginning. My wife Jessica and I had been together for about 8 years. We met in college, got married shortly after, and for the most part, I thought we had a pretty normal, decent relationship. Sure, we had our fights like everyone else, but I believed we were solid, or at least I did until recently. Things started to feel off a few months ago. Jessica's been more irritable, snapping at me over small things, canceling plans last minute, and sometimes she'd just be distant. I brushed it off at first, thinking maybe she was stressed at work or dealing with some personal stuff. But then I noticed she was hiding her phone a lot more. She'd get defensive if I tried to look at it, say she was just tired or that I was being paranoid. Still, I didn't want to jump to conclusions. Then last weekend, I decided to surprise her with a little date night. I planned everything: her favorite restaurant, a movie she liked, flowers. When I got home from work, I found her in our living room. She was on her phone, looking over her shoulder nervously. I asked her how her day was, and she brushed it off quickly, telling me she'd been busy with work emails. Yeah, typical Jessica, always quick to dismiss things she didn't want to talk about. I just shrugged it off and kissed her goodnight. But something about her behavior kept nagging at me. The way she was acting, like she was hiding something. I didn't have any solid proof, so I kept quiet. I figured I'd wait and see. But then a few days later, I found myself in the bookstore I manage, arranging some new stock. It's a small indie place, cozy, and I run the daily operations. I like being close to books and people who love them. That's when I saw her, Jessica. She was standing right in front of me, talking to a guy I didn't recognize at first. Then I saw his face, famous author, like the kind of guy who writes those dark, gritty thrillers. I knew him by sight. I'd even read a couple of his books. Jessica was giggling and leaning in, and I could see there was a lot more than just a friendly chat going on. They were close, way too close. She was touching his arm, laughing a little too loud. I froze. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My heart sank, and suddenly everything felt like a punch in the stomach. I stood there for a second, trying to process what I was witnessing. Then I realized they weren't just talking about writing techniques. She was practically grinding on him. And the way he looked at her, like he was completely smitten. I didn't want to believe it, but the evidence was right there in front of my eyes. I wanted to turn around, walk out, forget I saw anything, but I couldn't. I stayed rooted to the spot, watching. Jessica looked up, saw me, and froze. Her face went white. She quickly pulled away from him and started blabbering some excuse about discussing writing techniques and just friends. Yeah, right. Just friends don't get that close. That's when I knew my wife had been lying to me, hiding her affair right under my nose during what I thought was a simple book signing event I'd organized for her. I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. My stomach dropped and I couldn't breathe. I felt this mix of anger, betrayal, and heartbreak all at once. How could she do this? After everything, all the years, all the trust. And for a damn author, someone I looked up to, someone I'd even bought her books from at these events. It was like my whole world was crashing down. I didn't even bother confronting her right then. I just backed away, my mind racing. I knew I needed to think first, plan what to do. But honestly, I was already spiraling into a rage I'd never felt before. I spent the next couple of days in a fog. Part of me wanted to confront Jessica right away, but I knew that wouldn't do any good if I was just furious and hurt. I needed to get my head straight, figure out what I was really dealing with. So I kept my distance, pretending everything was normal, but inside I was burning with questions. How long had this been going on? Was it just that one time, or had there been more? And why the hell would she do this to me? I started digging through her stuff, her phone, her emails, even her social media. I wanted to see if there were any signs I missed, something that could tell me how long she'd been cheating. It was sickening, really. I found messages that seemed innocent enough on the surface, but then I uncovered a string of texts that were more revealing. Flirty, suggestive, talking about meeting up again, how much fun we had, and can't wait to see you. The kind of stuff that makes your stomach turn. And those messages weren't from just 1 or 2 days ago. They'd been going on for weeks. I also noticed that she'd been deleting a lot of her texts and calls, typical guilty behavior, but I wasn't just going to let her erase everything. I set up a little fake account and started talking to her, posing as someone interested in writing, trying to get more info. Eventually, she slipped up, mentioning the author's name, saying she'd see him again soon. That was the smoking gun. She'd been sneaking around behind my back, lying to my face for months. When I finally decided I had enough, I called her that evening. I told her I knew everything about the affair, the texts, the secret meetings. Her reaction was a masterclass in bullshit. She started crying, calling me jealous, insecure, saying I was overreacting. Then she spun this ridiculous story about how it was just a stupid mistake, that it meant nothing, that he's just a friend she was helping with a project. She kept insisting she loved me, that she'd never do something like this if she really cared. But it was obvious she was lying. Her voice cracked, her eyes darted around, and her words sounded forced. I couldn't stand it. I felt humiliated and furious at the same time. How could she be so cold, so manipulative? She's always been a bitchy, controlling woman, but this went beyond anything I'd ever suspected. I felt like I was losing my mind. And the worst part, she was acting like I was the one in the wrong, like I was overreacting. "You're just insecure," she said. "You don't trust me." Trust, after all this. She'd been sneaking around, lying to my face, and she still had the nerve to say I was the problem. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing her face. Her lies, the way she looked at him with that damn sparkle in her eyes. I kept replaying the moment I saw her with him in the bookstore, and it made me sick. I felt betrayed, not just by her, but by everything I thought our relationship was. I was so angry I wanted to break something, to shout at her, to make her feel the pain she'd caused me. But I also felt deeply sad, because I had honestly believed she loved me, that we had something real. The next morning, I woke up with a plan. I knew I couldn't just let it slide, not after what I'd discovered. I decided I'd confront her again face to face, demand answers, and tell her exactly how much she'd hurt me. I wanted her to feel the weight of her betrayal, but I also knew I had to prepare myself emotionally, because this was going to be the hardest thing I'd ever do. I'd been played, used, and lied to by the woman I trusted most in the world. It's one thing to suspect, it's another to know for sure. I was ready to face whatever came next, even if it tore my world apart. That evening, I finally sat her down in the living room. I didn't yell right away, I didn't see the point. I just looked at her, cold and furious, and told her I knew everything. Her face twisted into that familiar smirk, like she thought she could talk her way out of it. Honestly, it made me want to vomit. She started with her usual bullshit, saying she was sorry I found out like this, claiming it was just a mistake, and that she didn't mean for it to happen. She lied big time, said she and the author were just talking about books, that there was nothing more. Yeah, right, that's the classic cover story. I told her I saw her touching him, laughing with him, how I'd seen the texts and the messages. Her eyes widened for a second, then she began to spin her web of excuses. "He's just a friend," she kept repeating. "We're collaborating on a project. He's helping me with my writing, that's all. We're just discussing techniques, that's all." I didn't buy it for a second. I had already seen enough. She was lying through her teeth, and I knew it. Her voice started to rise, getting bitchy, defensive. She sneered. "You're just jealous because he's a real writer and you're nothing but a bookstore manager. You don't understand how this works. I'm tired of your paranoia." That was when I lost it. I told her she was a cheating bitch, that I'd never trust her again, and that she could take her discussions and shove them where the sun doesn't shine. She screamed back, calling me insecure, controlling, a jealous psycho. She claimed I was overreacting and that I was making a mountain out of a molehill. I wanted to punch her. I wanted to shake her and demand she tell me the truth. But I just sat there, seething, realizing that my wife, the woman I loved, had been sleeping with my favorite author, and during an event I organized, no less. I felt this deep, gnawing hurt that I couldn't fully describe. It's not just about the betrayal. It's about feeling so stupid, so blind to what was happening right under my nose. All those times I thought she was late at work or busy with her writing, she was actually sneaking around. Every smile, every innocent laugh I saw when she was out, I now saw through that lie. It made my stomach churn. I thought I knew her, but I was looking at a stranger. She had lied to my face so many times I couldn't even tell what was real anymore. That night I didn't sleep. Instead, I just kept staring at the ceiling, replaying the moments in the bookstore, the way she looked at him, the way she touched his arm. I felt this intense mixture of anger, heartbreak, and that crushing sense of betrayal. The woman I married, the woman I thought was my partner, had been betraying me from day one. And she'd done it so casually, so effortlessly, it hurt worse than I thought possible. I knew then I had to make a decision. I couldn't stay with her, not after this. Not after she'd shown her true colors. But I also knew I'd never forget this, no matter what I decided to do next. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a freight train. My head was pounding, my stomach was churning, and all I could think about was what I'd uncovered the night before. I knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was normal. I had to confront her again, but this time I needed to be clear about what I was feeling and what I was going to do. Jessica was still asleep when I got up. I watched her for a moment, lying there with that smug look she always has when she's trying to act innocent. I felt a mix of disgust and heartbreak. It was like I was looking at a stranger. I quietly grabbed my phone and started drafting messages, things I wanted to say, things I needed her to hear. I wasn't going to hold back anymore. When she finally woke up, I told her I needed to talk. She looked annoyed, like I was bothering her, but I wasn't going to let her brush me off. I sat her down again, this time more direct. I told her I'd seen everything, the texts, the touches, the secret meetings. I told her I knew she was cheating on me with her favorite author during the book signing event I'd organized. Her face twisted into that same bitchy smirk, and she started the usual denial, claiming I was crazy, that I was just jealous, that she loved me and would never do anything to hurt me. I cut her off. I told her I wasn't interested in her lies anymore, that I'd had enough of her bullshit, that I'd seen enough to know I wasn't going to stay in a marriage where I was constantly lied to and betrayed. I told her I was done, that I wanted her to leave and never come back. Her reaction was priceless. She started crying, calling me an asshole, saying I was overreacting, that she still loved me. But I wasn't buying it anymore. It was clear she was trying to manipulate me, as always. I told her that I'd been humiliated, that I felt like a fool for trusting her, for believing she was faithful. I explained how her betrayal had shattered everything I thought we had, how I felt like my insides had been ripped out. She kept crying, trying to apologize, but I was already past caring about her tears. My mind was made up. I packed her bags myself and told her to leave. She kept begging, saying she'd change, that it was just a mistake, that she loved me and wanted to work things out. I told her I didn't want to hear it. I said she'd lied to my face for months, cheated during what was supposed to be a special event I'd organized, and I wasn't going to forgive her that easily. I wasn't going to stay with someone who disrespected me that much. As she packed her stuff and left, I sat on the couch feeling numb. I watched her disappear out the door, and for a moment, I felt a strange mix of relief and emptiness. Part of me wanted to scream, to break down, to do something destructive. But I just sat there, staring at the empty doorway, realizing that my life had just changed forever. I kept replaying her words, her lies, her tears, her fake apologies, and I knew deep down I'd never trust her again. That day I realized something. Betrayal changes everything. It shatters the illusion of permanence, of trust, of partnership. I don't know what I'll do next, but I do know I'll never forget what she did. And I hope anyone reading this knows, if you find out your partner been cheating, don't wait. Don't let it fester. Confront, decide, and don't let the cheater make you feel like you're the crazy one. Because in the end, you deserve someone who's honest, who respects you, and who values the vows they made. After Jessica left, I was left sitting alone in that apartment, feeling like I'd just been hit with a ton of bricks. The silence was deafening, and suddenly, everything felt heavy. I kept thinking about all the moments I'd trusted her, all the times I'd believed we had something real. But knowing she'd been sleeping with her favorite author during a book signing I organized, that was a punch to the gut I couldn't ignore. I spent the rest of that day trying to piece together what had gone wrong. Part of me wanted to call her, yell at her, demand she come back and explain herself. But then I thought, what's the point? She lied to me for months. She betrayed me during a moment I'd dedicated to her passion, her career, and she did it right in my face. That wasn't just a mistake, it was an insult. I began to realize how much I'd been blind. I kept asking myself, what did I miss? Was I too busy working trying to build a future that I didn't see what was truly happening? It's crazy how you can be so convinced you're with the right person, and then everything collapses in a matter of days. I started feeling a mixture of anger and sadness, anger about the betrayal, sadness about losing what I thought was my wife. Over the next few days, I kept busy with work, trying to distract myself. But at night, it was a different story. I'd lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything. Every moment I'd ignored the signs, every time she dismissed my concerns. The worst part was how she had lied so convincingly. She'd look me in the eye and tell me she loved me, that she was just stressed, that it was just a fling, that it meant nothing. How could someone who claimed to love me do something so cruel? I started talking to some friends, people I trust. They told me I was better off without her, that I deserved someone who'd be honest and faithful. But even with that support, I felt like I'd lost a piece of myself. Trust was shattered, and I wasn't sure I'd ever get it back. I kept asking myself, how do you rebuild after something like this? Can you ever really forgive someone who's betrayed you so deeply? I also tried to reflect on what I learned from all this. Honestly, I think I've always been someone who believed in giving people the benefit of the doubt. I trusted Jessica because I wanted to believe she was faithful, that she loved me. But now I see that sometimes, no matter how much you want to believe in someone, they're just not the person you thought they were. Trust is fragile, and once it's broken, it's not easy to repair. And here's the thing. I've realized I have to move on, not just for my sake, but for my mental health. Staying in a relationship with someone who's lied and cheated like that would only make me miserable. So I'm starting the process of healing, even if it hurts like hell. I don't know exactly what's next, but I do know I need to rebuild myself piece by piece. In the end, I think this whole experience has taught me something about resilience. Betrayal cuts deep, but it also forces you to confront what you really want. I want honesty, respect, and someone who truly values me, and I won't settle for less. If you're in a similar situation, my advice is, don't ignore the signs, don't blame yourself, and don't be afraid to walk away. You deserve better, and no lie or betrayal is worth sacrificing your self-worth. Looking back now, I realize that the pain of betrayal doesn't just fade away overnight. It stays with you, like a scar that you carry forever. But with time, the sharpness dulls. I've come to accept that sometimes people are just not meant to be part of your life anymore, no matter how much you wanted things to work out. Jessica's betrayal was a wake-up call. I saw her for who she truly was, and I finally understood that I deserved someone who wouldn't lie, cheat, and treat me like I was disposable. I've started focusing on myself, rebuilding my confidence, reconnecting with friends, and rediscovering the things I used to enjoy before all this chaos. It's not easy, and some days are definitely harder than others. But I've learned that the best thing you can do after betrayal is to prioritize your own healing. You have to face the hurt, accept it, and then eventually let it go. Because if you don't, it will consume you. What surprises me most is how resilient I am. I thought I'd be broken forever, but I'm not. I've realized I still have strength inside me, strength I didn't know I had. I've become more aware of red flags now, more cautious about who I trust. And honestly, that's a good thing. I used to believe that love was enough, but now I know it's more than that. Respect, honesty, and loyalty are what truly matter. If there's one thing I want anyone reading this to take away, it's this. Never let betrayal define your worth. Don't stay in a toxic situation because you're afraid of being alone or because you think you can fix someone. Sometimes, walking away is the best thing you can do for yourself and your future happiness. And trust me, there's a lot of good out there. It might take time, but eventually, you'll find someone who genuinely values you and won't treat you like an option. So here I am, a little wiser and a lot more cautious. I still get angry sometimes, still feel the sting of what she did, but I refuse to let it control me. I'm choosing to move forward, carrying the lessons I've learned and keeping my heart open to better things. Because, in the end, I know my worth. And if there's one thing betrayal has taught me, It's that I deserve nothing less than honesty and respect from the person I trust with my life.